I am coming to you from Umpqua Bank here in San Francisco in the financial district. This is their conference room, which I get to use, which is very cool. And I'm doing the reading from this conference room from the financial district from the Golden Present Daily Inspirational Readings by Sri Swami Satchidananda. Yeah, and so I look out the window and I can see all the buildings in the financial district, and I'm doing the reading. Wish everybody could hear me, but it's just me in this room and whoever's watching. It's February 13th. Real love means you think of the welfare of others. That's the topic. And this is a question and answer format, so someone's asking a question to Swami Satchidananda. The question is, how can I learn to love? And Swami Satchidananda says, wanting to love itself is the beginning. And if you want to love, then you should know how to love. Real love means you think of the welfare of others. You do everything for the sake of others. You don't put yourself first. If others do something to you in return, it's all right. Accept it, but don't look for it. If you look for it, you are setting up conditions. Only if you love me in return, or if you do this, and this and that will I love you. Only if you love me in return, or if you do this and that will I love you. Otherwise I will not. All our problems are caused by this. We lose trust and become miserable when love is conducted like a business. You will not be happy with this kind of love. Don't worry about the other person, whether it is between husband and wife or even between two friends. If your relationship is based on some gain from that person, you are never going to be happy. The other person cannot always give you what you want, so be content just to love. Let me look back at that part that I stumbled on. If you are looking for it, you are setting up conditions. Only if you love me in return, or if you do this and that will I love you. Otherwise I will not. Still can't read that right. Well, anyway, that makes sense. Being of service, loving for the sake of others. It's, for me, reading more about the act of being selfless and learning about unconditional love. I think this is obviously set up well for tomorrow's Valentine's Day, and real love means you think of the welfare of others. I think a lot of times I can be focused on what are my needs and how can I get my needs met, especially if I feel like I've not been very good at asking for what I need. I haven't been very good at being able to set boundaries for what maintains a healthy relationship. I'll either do too much for somebody else, or I'll absent-mindedly not take somebody else's feelings into account. I know from my heart of hearts I would always want to be there for someone and be able to offer my highest self and to certainly think of others, but I know there are times when that hasn't happened, and it's come from a place of fear, maybe a place of having been wounded around this in the past, and so I'll tighten up around it and then have a harder time letting that unconditional love energy flow. It'll be conditional. I'll feel like, well, I know you love me if. I know this is going to be okay to share this if this is what I get in return. And I've had some talks with some friends about this, and who are in relationships, and it is very challenging. There's a lot to navigate when you're in a relationship and you're wanting to stay grounded and centered in what's true for you, and also finding that point of being able to share from your heart and to be really aware of the welfare of others. Yeah. just thought of this story. I was leaving my apartment yesterday, and I saw this woman who was walking around. She, for the most part, she looked fine, and then I looked down and saw she was barefoot. And then I looked up again, and I noticed she did look a little bit like she maybe hadn't changed her clothes for a few days, and I'd say she was probably in her late 60s. And it was right in my neighborhood, and I just thought something didn't seem, like okay here. And so I went up and I just said hello to her, and I said, did you leave your shoes at home? And she said, yeah, well, my feet are hurting. I just took off my shoes. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then as I got closer, I definitely could tell something was going on. And there was an impulse in me that was like, yeah, better walk away. Not sure what's going to happen here. Her clothes were dirty, and I could tell her hands. That's often a sign for me. Her hands looked really, dirty. But I thought, what if this woman just needs a little bit of love? And that's my phone going off. That's a good thing. I should learn to turn that off when I'm doing these. I'm going to do it right now. There we go. And I got into a conversation with her, learned that she's been living with this man who she said is abusing her. She's been there for 3 years. And she used to have a job and was making a lot of money, and I could tell, like, she was very intelligent, but something had happened, and it looked like, maybe it had been only a couple years, a year, a couple years, that her course of life had gotten shifted. And I thought, that's so easy for any one of us for that to happen. And what if there's some person or some people who come in and just make that connection and share their heart with them? She didn't ask for money right away. We basically just got into a conversation. She said she wishes she could hear this certain piece of music. She has a record that she wants to listen to. She talked about she was a victim of identity theft. There's all this that could be true, not true. I don't know, but there's definitely something there. I felt like I could tell my heart was just opening for her no matter what was going on, whether she's making up stories or just, or she's telling the absolute truth. And we talked for about 5 or so minutes, and she ended up asking about me, what do I do? Talked with her about, building a business, and she talked about her experience with business and some key things to keep in mind, and she gave me some motivational things to think about, and it just was a really powerful exchange. And again, it wasn't at the expense of anything more than just stopping, taking a few minutes, and connecting with humanity, connecting with what I see are my brothers and sisters as best I can, and really taking that kind of stuff to heart. We lose trust and become miserable when love is conducted like a business. So that was just a perfect example. Like, she didn't want anything from me more than the conversation. I didn't want anything from her, but got basically some advice. And yeah, it just kind of surprised me. So who knows what happens with some of these conversations, but I can tell you there's a lot of conversations that I will avoid because you just don't know, right? You feel hesitant, especially if you're seeing homeless people or people that you could be in danger around. So you want to be mindful and careful, but see if we can listen more with our hearts and less with the mind. That will guide us towards recognizing how we are connected. And there's a level of humanity that I often feel like I can be afraid of and can avoid. But that's a practice for me to think differently. So in this preparation for Valentine's Day, I'm thinking about my heart being open in that regard for um, just a larger sense of community. Since there's not this one person for me to direct it to at the moment, I'm thinking more to my friends, you who are watching, my family, and then people that are my brothers and sisters all over that I have met or haven't met yet. Okay, well, here I am saying goodbye from Umpqua Bank, and I hope you have a wonderful day and start to your Valentine's Day, your Unconditional Heart Day tomorrow, and I'll be back tomorrow. All right.